Hi, I'm Heather Norman Smith, and it was a pleasure talking with Kim Sorrelle. We had a great time, and I'm so happy to have been a guest on her show. She was so gracious to highlight my book, A Simple Kindness in Flatsboro, and I hope you'll tune into our conversation. We talked about writing and about adoption and about the theme of kindness in my story, and it was just such a lot of fun.
Welcome to the show. I'm so happy you're here. You are going to be so happy you are here. I'm Kim Sorrelle. I'm an author. I'm a speaker. I get to do a lot of fun things in life. My favorite thing to do by far is meet people, and I get to meet some incredible people today. My guest, I have so been looking forward to today. You are going to love her. I love her, and we're really just meeting for the first time. Heather is an author. She's a songwriter. She sings. She probably paints. She probably does great cooking projects. She's a mother. She's a sister. She's a wife. She's a daughter. She's all kinds of things in life. And you're going to get to know her real well today. And you're going to love her story. Like, she is incredible and fabulous. This is going to be inspirational and warm and wonderful. So, welcome to the show. And Heather, welcome to the show.
Oh, you are so kind, Kim. Thank you. And it is great to be here. I'm excited for our conversation.
Yeah, great. Me too. Yep. I've so been looking forward to it, especially after reading your stuff. You are such a talented author. And so we're going to get into that. But first, I want to start with you. And I want my audience to really get to know you. So I would love to hear about 8-year-old Heather.
Oh, 8-year-old Heather. Oh, what a fun one. So I was very blessed to live. Well, I've lived in North Carolina my whole life. I'm very proud of the Tar Heel State. That shows in my writings. Everything I write's in North Carolina. But grew up with, two parents and two sisters. I'm a middle child. And, I kind of joke about that a lot, like the whole middle child syndrome thing, but I do think it's real. But I'm blessed regardless. And I have a sister who is 7 years older and a sister who's 8 years younger. So I am right in the middle there. But my dad is a pastor, so grew up in a small country church as a preacher's kid and, singing in church my whole life. And I loved, I guess, one of the things that I liked back then, and I like to talk. I've always been a talker, and that was one with the report card that says talks too much. I like people. I like to engage with people. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah. Well, and what a great experience growing up the way you did. It's amazing to me the years between you and your sisters. I mean, that you don't hear that in a family often. Sometimes
yeah,
it's like a tag along, but
yeah,
you got big gaps. It's like your parents
right.
have three families.
My parents married very young. So, and they're still together after all these years, even though they got married at 16 and 17, respectively. So they started their family. They planned to have my sister when my mom was 18 because they'd been married for 2 years, right? And so then they waited a while and had me when my mom was 25, and then my youngest sister was kind of a surprise a little later on. So, but but really, I'm very thankful for the family that I grew up in. Lots of aunts, uncles, cousins on both sides, and just great childhood.
Yeah, were you play outside until the street lights come on, kind of?
Well, we lived out in the country, so there was not a whole lot of street lights, for me growing up. I know one of the things that I loved to do was at my grandma's house, and she had like back then when I was real young, she had like a cinder block back porch, and I had a couple cousins who were close to my age, and we would pull mimosa leaves off of the mimosa tree in the backyard, and we would like pretend to cook with them, and they have like my grandma would give us a pie plate, like a pie aluminum tin, and we would mix those leaves and mud with a stick, and we were chefs. We were like the grand chef. So a lot of that imagination and that kind of play, I think that's where um, it's great ground for storytelling later on.
Yeah, yeah, it certainly is. Well, and it's something that sometimes people lose. So if you can hang on to that and treasure that imagination,
Yeah.
right, and keep it alive.
I think I lost it for a very long time. And
Really.
a life gets in the way of some of that creativity sometimes. And I was very fortunate to find it later unexpectedly. So we can talk more about that.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting. When you were a kid, did you have any idea what you wanted to do as an adult?
Oh, I had lots of big dreams. Always loved writing stories. I think when I was really young, I had ideas about being an author, but like I said, that went away for a long, long, long time. It was not even anywhere on the radar. Um, But, I think at some point, I wanted to be a lawyer because I liked not really arguing, but I was very analytical, too. So I liked figuring things out. And I thought about that for a while. But I've always, so one of the big dreams when I was a kid was we have this about an hour from the place I grew up. There was this Wild West kind of theme park. And so there was this like saloon girl type like show at this place. And I went probably when I was about 8. And I saw this lady who was like the headliner of this show. And she was on stage and she was like singing Patsy Cline's Walking After Midnight. And I just thought that is the coolest thing. And her name was Diamond Lil. So for a time, that was my dream, right? Was to be Diamond Lil at this theme park. But your dreams grow and change, as you age. And I found myself years later working at my day job is for a software company. So, you know,
It's a far cry from Diamond Lil.
yes, it is. It is. But I think it's still good to dream. Maybe one day, maybe
Yeah,
one day.
right. Yeah, I mean, the dream's not off the table. You could still be
Yeah,
Diamond Lil someday. Yeah.
sure.
And they wore the coolest dresses, right? With all the
Oh, yeah.
extra ruffles, all the extra stuff underneath. And yeah, yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yes, yeah, nothing like it. And Patsy Cline, come on.
Oh, I love
Oh,
her.
yeah, love her too. Yeah, so yeah, but I understand the whole life gets in the way thing because it,
Hmm.
it, it really does. I think it seems like more for women than men. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I think men lose their imagination in a different way. Maybe they figure life has to be too serious, or I don't know. I can't really speak for men because I'm not one, but I
Hmm.
can speak for women, and I know that like for me, I experience the same. I mean, you get married, and then the kids start coming, and then like
Hmm.
my first child was born in 1982, and I've got 5 kids, and I can tell you the 80s were a blur to me. I don't remember. I can't name a movie. I can't
Wow.
name a song. They were just a blur, but
Yes.
they're all here. So, they all made it.
Yeah.
So that's an accomplishment, I figure. And so
I
that's
think my greatest dream was to be a mother. I
yeah.
mean, when we say, what was your dream, we kind of go to occupation, the things that we have to do to earn a living. Um, but ultimately that was my greatest dream in life, I think, was to be a mom. And so I don't want to discount that, But
Huh.
but yeah, it's you in that season, that's it's almost the only thing that I was able to focus on for a very long time. And that's fine. That's great. That's a high calling. But as they get older, you start to see that there are other things that you might have lost that you can regain just with as they gain their own independence, and don't need you quite as much. So,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's so true. Yeah, I remember my first four, I adopted like you did. You adopted. I adopted
uh-huh.
later a boy from the Dominican Republic, and he was older when he came into our lives. But anyway, so my first four, though, my oldest was 4.5 when my youngest was born. So they were
Mhm.
bang, 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 bang.
Oh, wow.
Yes, yeah. And
No wonder it was a blur.
yeah, no
Gosh.
kidding. And I remember thinking, oh gosh, when my youngest is 5, man, life is going to be so much easier. And then thinking, when my youngest is 10, life
Yeah.
is going to be so much easier. My youngest is 15, like kind of taking it in 5-year increments. And
Yeah.
I loved every age, every stage. It was all fun. People used to say, oh my gosh, when they're all teenagers together, you're going to go crazy. And I thought, I'm not going to have that attitude. I'm going to
Mhm.
embrace those teenage years. I'm excited to have teenagers, and I
Yeah.
loved it. I loved having
Yeah.
teenagers. And so all the ages are fun. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That's where I'm at mostly now. I have two teenagers and my last biological child, he will be 13 in January. But then our adopted son is is a few years younger than him. So we got a little while to go. That one.
And everybody look up Heather's family. Your family's beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, I love seeing pictures of your family.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you're sitting on the beach. So you meet the man of your dreams. Where did you guys meet, by the way?
At work, yeah, so we worked together and we were both kind of in a floundering state, early 20s kind of thing, and was working at a call center at the time, actually.
Yeah.
Um, so um, yeah,
And
and we're just
you liked his voice on the phone? Is that what it was?
no, we were actually just on the same team. We were on a team that took inbound calls for like these were existing clients. We were taking orders from existing clients for this company, and we were just on the same team. And we're friends. We're good friends for a long time.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
that's a nice way for things to start.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because I bet you're probably still good friends today.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're doing,
It's
we're
a good
doing good.
foundation. It's a good
Yeah.
foundation. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, and then babies came and life, like we just already talked about, gets a little nuts in there. And
Yeah.
then you're sitting on the beach one day.
Yeah. It was
Yeah, I want to hear you tell the story.
2017. And I think when my youngest was around 4 or 5, I started, I guess it was about 4, um, feeling this pull that I needed a creative outlet. But it was very subtle, nothing crazy. And I started a blog. So still far cry from novels, right? But as I would read scripture, I would write devotions. Is kind of how I personally processed what I was reading, right? And so I just, okay, I'll throw these up on a website, on a free blog site, and maybe that will encourage somebody. Maybe somebody will stumble upon it, and I'll just share it that way. And so it was just something for me to do, and I enjoyed it. And I think I wrote a few short stories thinking like maybe I write a children's book. And so like I had written some things and shared it with my kids, just for fun. Still nowhere in my brain was the idea to write a a book, for adults. And so I'm sitting on the beach, 2017. I'm watching my kids play in the water. My chair's in the sand and I'm just watching them. And very, very suddenly this character popped into my head and started telling me her story in such a vivid uh, way that I was a little concerned that I was having a psychotic break. Okay. Because it was so out of the blue. Like, okay, why do I have this idea about an older woman who is searching for her purpose and then she encounters this girl in foster care and it was just very so I took out my phone and I start making notes because I'm curious about these ideas and I don't want to lose them. So, and my mother-in-law was sitting beside me and she just says, oh, who you talking to? Because she thinks I'm texting somebody. And I said, no, just ideas for a story. And then when I got home, it had not left me and I knew I had to write it.
Oh, wow.
That's how it
Wow.
started.
That's so cool. I gotta say, you're the only person who I know of that was sitting on a beach and the character came into the head and sat next to their mother-in-law and wrote notes
Yeah.
on their phone. You're the only one. You're it.
Yeah, it's fun
So,
how we all have our different journeys, our different paths, right? So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so true. So true. So yeah, so you didn't just get this idea, but you wrote a book. And there's lots of people who get ideas or they come up with something and they think they want to write a book or they should write a book or they would like to write a book, but it never comes to fruition.
yeah.
But you did it. And how long did it take you from that day, from the day of meeting your character until the book was on the shelf?
Oh, from meeting the characters, it was the shelf. It was pretty fast because I just had to get it out there. So I will say it was later when I started really studying the craft and studying the industry, I realized all the missteps, that I'd made along the way with that first book. So it was very humbling, I will say. But we have to start somewhere.
Mhm.
So I don't really regret the path, but you could look back and say, "Oh, I should have done it this way. I should have done it that way." So the idea was July 2017, and that book was published in March of 2019.
Wow.
So I
It's
mean, for
very
that,
fast.
it was pretty fast.
Yeah.
I wrote it, I want to say in about 6 months. It is the first one was really a novella, because how green I was, how naive I was about this. I Googled how long does a novel have to be? Okay, that's how I got started. And so then I'm thinking, okay, so some definitions are like 45,000 words, and like that's kind of bare minimum, from any publisher. But I thought, well, okay, well, if that's my goal, then I just have to do. I'm like, I'm very pretty logical. Even though I'm a creative, I'm pretty logical. I said, okay, well, um, how many words would I have to write a day to get to that? And I'm kind of breaking it out. But I was like, if I can write a sentence, I can write a paragraph. If I can write a paragraph, then I can write a scene. And if I can write a scene, I can write a chapter. And that's how this played out in my brain. Well, if I can write a chapter, I can write a book. And so, but the story really just kind of poured out after I had that framework, in mind to do it. And so the first one was considered by most as a novella, but then after that, the next one came, the next character came, and then the next one, and then it was odd to me even like that. I had this just being very real. It was almost a compulsion, okay, to to
Interesting.
get these
Yeah.
out. So in hindsight, some of that doesn't necessarily feel healthy, right? Because it was like an obsessive thing that when I started thinking about these characters, I had to get it out, and I couldn't really rest until I did. So
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. That had to be an interesting time because you also have kids that want to have dinner sometimes.
right,
It's
right.
like they
So
need to eat every
I
day.
would I would stay up. If everybody's finally asleep by 10, then I can stay up for 2 more hours. So it was about 10 to 12 at night that I would do most of my writing when
Yeah.
when they were younger. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's nice quiet time in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you probably were maybe living on a little less sleep
Oh
if you're
yeah.
going to
I've
bed.
always been a night owl though. I mean, I'm not a morning person, but yeah. So that's how it happened early on. It's different now. So
Yeah.
one of my kids coming in now. I forgot to tell him I was on a call.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's all right. So, very interesting though, and your books are so good, and they're all about. I mean, they're about inspiration and about. I love the themes. I guess is what I'm getting to, and
Okay.
and your most recent book
Mm.
is so good. It's so good. I would love for you to talk about that and talk about where that inspiration came.
Oh, thank you. I am really proud of this book. I would say all of this is book six. Most of my early novels were published with a small press, and this was a kind of a milestone for me, having this book published with a publisher that I was that embraced this book. So I'm very grateful for that. Um, but the book is called A Simple Kindness in Flatsboro. I will say that was not my title, but that's okay. It grew on me, and now I love it. Um, that was a suggestion, from the publisher. Sometimes, you don't really get to make that call, but they after I thought about it for a while, I was like, okay, that really does kind of capture the story. Um, so it is really based, it's a fictional town. Obviously, Flatsboro is the name of the town in this book, a small North Carolina town. It really is based largely on the community that I live in now, which is right outside Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And we have a protagonist who is maybe not your um, common protagonist in a novel because he's different. He's not your like male, typical male hero, right? He has this physical anomaly on his face that makes him really stand out. But we learn throughout the book that's not really what makes him stand out as a person. So that's a big part of the theme. I think all six of the books, the word that I get most on reviews, the most common word is heartwarming, and I'm okay with that. I like that description. So. I think it
Yeah,
fits.
well, yeah, yeah. So, I know birthmarks are something that you've talked about before. So it is that was that part of it? Just thinking about the birthmarks and how you talk about birthmarks. I'd love for you to talk about birthmarks anyway, because I love your take, how you talk about them.
Yeah, well, I will say this character, most of my stories are character driven, not necessarily theme driven, right? So it's going to start with the character. And then it's the what if questions. Like,
I can't hear you for some reason. Are you plugged in? And you want to just use the mic that's on your computer? Oh, now I can hear you.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, it's the internet. So
Oh,
you didn't freeze
okay.
at all. You didn't freeze
Yeah.
for me at all.
Yeah, you
Um,
didn't freeze either. I just couldn't hear you.
okay. So sorry.
Oh,
I'm
no problem. No problem. So, okay,
um
you're saying they're character driven.
so with these characters, it's thinking about who they are and their lives and just what if scenarios, all these what ifs. Um, I will say that this character was inspired by someone that I had seen who had this condition that I don't even know what their condition was, but it made their appearance very different. And I thought about that person and their life and what his day to day must be like, and what are his interactions with people like. And that's how this story was born. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it is interesting to think about. I mean, I think that's true because until you, it's like it'd be interesting to walk in somebody else's shoes, but we never really get to. But it is interesting to think, well, gosh, people live with different things
yeah,
and carry different crosses, I guess,
right,
and have different things happen in their lives. And unless you've gone through it yourself, it's really hard to relate to. It's hard to know
right,
what people really feel. You can
right.
sympathize, empathize, right? But yeah,
And some are just more obvious than others. You know, in this case of this character, he can't hide the things that make him different. But the female protagonist, a lot of what she deals with, it's internal. You can't see what's going on. And so there's this juxtaposition between these two characters, and then the outward differences versus what's going on in her heart that nobody knows about, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting. It's so true. It's so true. And that's absolutely so true of life. And
Mm,
unfortunately, that outward stuff that people do see,
mm.
the whatever it happens to be, um, people can make such judgments, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
and it's like, holy cow, people are people all over the world. Like
Right.
it should not matter. None of the physical anything should matter. It's
Right.
what makes us unique and different and special. And so should be a beautiful thing rather than something to turn away from or something to not like about somebody or whatever. I mean,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. So you use this character in a really special way. And so I love that you got into the head of this character. I mean, it's very obvious in your writing that you did that you write from a place of as if you lived it. And
Yeah.
yeah, and how is that for you to actually get into it?
So, so that writing style is something that I had to learn, and that's what I didn't understand about my first novel. So, so my first novel was the novella was like third person omniscient, you know, and which I did not realize had kind of fallen out of style until I started studying. I still love the story, right? But I would have told it in a different way if I had really, because after that book, then I really started studying. I started going to writers' conferences. I started learning all about the craft. And so what you learn is when you're trying to be the best author that you can be, is that a really effective writing style is deep point of view. So it is that getting inside the character's head and telling the story through their eyes and through their experiences and not having a narrator like interject, thoughts that the narrator shouldn't know. It's only what that character sees, hears, does, etc. So I think it makes for a stronger story. I think it makes for a more engaging read for the readers, but it does kind of mess with you a little bit when you're in the middle of writing it, because you spend so much time in these fictional people's heads that uh, there have been a few times over the last few years when I was telling a story where, you can let reality blur a little bit because you
Mhm.
spend so much time in make-believe world. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting because that does happen where you're like, yeah, this thing happened, and then you go, oh gosh,
right?
well, it happened to my character.
A couple examples of that. It,
Yeah.
So I have gotten really excited before when I was out in public and I saw somebody who resembled what the character looked like in my head. Because I was like, oh, it's them. It's them. I'm like, I know it's not them. They're not a real person. I made them up. But like you spend so much time thinking about them that when I would see somebody out who was like in the embodiment of like what I had been spending so much time with in my head, I would get like almost like this they were a celebrity or something, I was excited. Um, but I have to admit one of the funniest things is that in my church, they will take prayer requests, right? Like if somebody wants to pray about something, you can speak up. And I caught myself before I did it, but I had written a character that had just had a stroke. Like I had just written a scene where my character had, that's a spoiler for like my third or fourth book, but and I was like, oh wait, she's not real. She's okay. Like I'm gonna make her okay later. And I don't need to pray for her. It was another kind of a delusional moment. But that's only when I'm really, really in story mode that those kind of things happen.
Yeah, yeah, that's funny. It would have been kind of funny if you would have asked for prayer for your
Yeah.
character.
I,
Yeah,
I caught myself at just the last second. Yeah.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, this character that you've been talking about, this male character, uh, is the epitome of kindness. Like he's so
Mm,
kind.
yeah.
And I think kindness is so underrated.
Yeah. Um, Kindness is a virtue that has always been very special to me. And this book I did dedicate to my children. It was the first of the six books that I felt like it was theirs, right? I felt like I needed to make that dedication to them for that reason because as as they were little, I want them to be successful. I want them to be smart. I want them to be hardworking. But I feel like kindness above all is really the attribute that I want them all to have. And we're all going to miss the mark. I mean, we're all going to like have moments where that's just not who we are in that moment where can't always be kind. But I think it's just so valuable. That I wanted this book that does deal with that theme of kindness to be dedicated to my children. Now, one of the ways that my character is kind is that he's just a philanthropist, right? It's acts of service. He's kind in the fact that he has this heart for people where he wants to do nice things for them. He wants to help provide things, but he wants to do it in secret. So that's a big part of this book is that he is a secret do-gooder in his town. And so, but he's kind of the unassuming Andy, where people don't realize the things that he's doing that are so important to him, almost maybe to a fault, because he kind of places a lot of his identity in what he's able to do for others, which is good, but then also causes some conflict, for him.
Yeah, which it can, right? I mean, what motivates you
Yeah,
is what it comes down to quite often, right? And
right.
yeah.
He has this ideal that almost he wants to help, but he makes it so much of his identity that he doesn't necessarily want others to be part of this. And so he's gonna kind of figure out that it's okay to let others help, and that he can be part of a team to do good things in his community. So that's another thing too. Another theme, is it's community, right? It's doing good for where you live, doing good for others around you, but also that you don't have to do it alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and really, you do so much more when you do things together.
Yeah, right,
And yeah, and the meaning and the feeling and the joy that you receive of everything. I mean, it's all about
right,
well, it's all about connection.
right.
All
There's
about
a there's
yeah.
a metaphor in the first chapter. I just kind of have to. This is kind of funny to me. I tried to make a metaphor about like he's walking and he sees this anthill, right? And it, there's a brief description about how they're working together, right? The ants working together. They're small and they can't do much on their own, but together the ants are working. I tied it in later in the book. Thought I did that well, and like it would be clear. But I did have a reviewer kind of call out that like it made too much description, because of that. Even talking about the ants he sees. Now there was a purpose behind the ants. So, but we
It was effective, so you can ignore that.
yeah.
It's a review. It's okay.
Yeah, I didn't fault them for it. Yeah, if they missed it later that I tried to tie it in, but it wasn't just a random description of an anthill. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah,
yeah,
you never know what people are going to come back and say, what they're going to see, what they're going to pick out, and what.
yeah.
But yeah, but I would think this book. I mean, the biggest themes are the things that people are really going to hone in on because they're obvious, but yet they're a great reminder,
Mm.
right?
I hope so. I hope that there's some really strong takeaways, and yeah, some of it is it's obvious. It's not subtle at all. Yeah, I think there are some things that are kind of woven through in a more subtle way, but the major themes are pretty out there, and I think sometimes people want a book that they don't have to dissect so much, that they don't have to analyze. So this one is just an encouraging theme, hopefully. And I always think, even though this is fiction, these are made up people, that maybe they can inspire people, maybe they can encourage people. And if you do kind of make them real enough, in somebody's mind, they'll think about them later, and they'll, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should pay it forward. That's kind of a cliche term, right? But like, it's not a bad term to use. Um, I kind of thought about starting a hashtag on social media. It was like, be like Andy. I thought about
Yeah.
I didn't do it, but I thought about it like, you know,
It's not too late. You still could if you want
tied to
to.
this book, right? Like, be
Yeah.
like Andy. Like, there's all things, there's opportunities for all of us
Mhm.
to bless others. It's not necessarily financial, right? In the book, he kind of tends toward that. Like he wants to um purchase things anonymously for the school children and things like that. But it's not always financial. It's a kind word, you know. It's a
Mhm.
listening ear. So I hope people will be encouraged and inspired just to take note of the people around them and ask themselves what can they do to offer help of some kind.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting. So years ago, I dedicated a year to figuring out the true meaning of love.
Wow.
And I took, yeah, yeah. Because, I mean, you ask people what is love and you get different answers depending on who you ask. And
Mm,
they might break down, well, there's these different kinds of love, there's agape, there's what or they talk
right,
about, well, you're talking about romance, or you're talking about, but God is love. And so God is love. John doesn't say God is agape love. God is this love, that love. God is love, period. Right.
right,
And we're created
right,
in his image. So we're love as well. Right.
right,
So what does that mean? That we are love, that God is love, not that he loves, but that he is love.
right.
So anyway, so I went on this eat, pray, love crazy journey. Most of the year I was in Haiti and
Oh, wow.
yeah, got chased by a motorcycle gang. All kinds of crazy things happened. But the things that I found out about love blew my mind. And I used 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient,
Hmm.
love is kind. I took one word or phrase a month. And so the very second month is love is kind. And
Mm.
and I thought, well, shoot, this is going to be so easy. I know what kindness is. I know
Right.
what how to be kind. I know we say everybody's kind. Aren't people kind? We say kind things, we do kind things, and whatever. But it took me the entire month, every month, to figure it out. I don't know if I'm a little thick-headed or what the problem is, but it took a long time to figure it out.
Wow.
But with love is kind, um, what I figured out is that love that is kind is different than just being kind. Because, like I said, we are kind. People in general are kind. I think it's part of our
Hmm.
nature to be kind. But love that is kind is being kind, doing kind, saying kind things, um,
Mm.
doing kind things
It's action.
with
Yeah.
zero expectation of getting anything in return.
Mm.
Zero expectation about of getting anything in return. And sometimes you think, I don't know if you've ever heard, but I've heard people say, "Wow, they didn't even say thank you."
Mm. Yeah.
Right?
Guilty. Guilty. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm probably guilty of that too. Or, or you went to their daughter's wedding. Why aren't they at yours? Or, things like
Yeah.
that. And it's like the minute you do that, the minute you expect something in return for your kindness, it's not
Hmm.
love anymore. Love has
Oh,
nothing to do with it. It might still be,
that's great.
but it's got nothing to do with love. And I see that though too in your book,
Mm.
right? Because
Yeah.
doing in secret means that you can't get anything back, even
Right.
though he ends up with these kind of unique expectations, right?
Right. Oh, I love your description of that. That is a great way to define that, and that you know you're not putting a price tag on your kindness, when you don't expect anything back. But yeah, the fact that he's anonymous and he um he pulls a lot from the book of there's this passage in the book of James that to him that knows to do good, and doesn't do it, it's sin. I'm paraphrasing, but and so he that's a strong conviction for him. But there's also this concept. I actually don't. I can't remember if I referenced in the book or not, but like, not letting your left hand know what your right hand's doing, or vice versa, right? It's like, we do things in secret because we have our reward from God, not from man. We shouldn't expect something from our giving. So I mean, because that's not the point. That's not the purpose, right? And so he does kind of hold that ideal close and live by that in this story.
Yeah, yeah, which I think is very interesting. But he does come to a point though too of sort of conflict in his mind where
Right.
you were talking earlier about it's okay to let other people be involved in your kind.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That maybe even though it had become maybe it had become a source of pride for him a little bit too much, that the fact that he kept it a secret, you know.
Mhm.
It's pretty nuanced in the
Yeah.
story. But I think readers will get it that he has to make a choice about whether he can divulge um the fact that he's doing these good things, and whether it's right or wrong in the context of the story to let people know what he's done, or is it okay to be recognized in some way? Um, and is it for nothing if people know that it's him, because it takes away that kind of the thing you described. But he does uh, come to a conclusion about that, and of course it works out without spoiling it that some people find out what the kind of things that he's done, and not everything. Some things are left secret, but just enough, and that people in his community realize he's even more of an amazing person than they could have known before.
Yeah, yeah, that's so cool. That's so cool. Well, and kindness is kind of that way. I think that you got to kind of check yourself. Am I doing
Hmm.
it for show or am I doing it out of the love of my heart? Right?
Right, right.
What is your motivation? A lot of things come down to that. But I think most kindness, you're just doing it because that's what love is. That's what love does.
Yeah.
Too.
And his motivation, he is called into question a little bit too, because he has this that he's doing it to honor his mother who has passed away, right? So a lot of what he does, he's carrying on her legacy of kindness, which is fantastic. But it's maybe there is a little bit of if he's compelled to do it too much because of that, and not because of that it's the right thing to do. And so there's a lot of dynamics of that. And you said, how I got in the character's head. Yeah, I did try very hard to look at the different emotional aspects of, we very, very rarely is something just, clear cut. Our motivations are, you know, eh,
Mhm.
everything we do, it comes from our experiences and what we've t been taught and learned. And then, so there are so many nuances to just who we are and what drives our behavior. So I tried to show that in this character, that his motivations are very nuanced. Um, but there's this huge theme in the story about the lessons that he learned from his mother, who is deceased at this point in his life. But he carries her memory with him always.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so special. Made me cry, but it's really good. Very, very good. I highly recommend it. And it's a great book for a book club.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
because it's a great book to discuss. Like I wanted to be talking about it while I was reading it. I think
Oh,
so, everybody buy it for yourself, but bring it to your book club. Do it for, December, I don't know, whatever. Buy it for Christmas gifts. What This is a great book, really kind of for anybody. Which there aren't that many books that are really a great book for anybody, but this one I would say is.
I appreciate that very, very much because that's one thing when I started learning the craft of writing. They say you have to know your audience, right? And your audience is not everybody. Like I have heard that so many times. Your audience is not everybody. I'm like, but I want to write for everybody. And I get it from a marketing perspective. It is like you do need to have a subset that's really who you're writing for and catering to. Um, and I do try. Have tried to hone my genre more into a more traditional Southern fiction genre, but at the same time, I like that idea. I love that you said that, that it's for everybody because I think hopefully there's something in it for everybody. I did have a coworker who purchased the book and I was just so grateful that he was just trying to support me. A guy. I work from home. I work remotely. So I don't see I've met this person like in person twice, right? Because every once in a while we'll have a thing we'll have to get together. And he messaged me and said, I bought your book. And I thought, oh, how sweet. He's just trying to, be supportive. And then later he let me know that he had read it and he's like, I didn't expect to like it. He's like, but I really did. And so that really meant a lot to me that even somebody who's like, this is not my traditional read. This is not something I would normally seek out. But hey, I enjoyed it. So that meant a lot to me.
Yeah, yeah, that is pretty special, but it's also very true. I can see why, obviously why he did and why anybody would. So that's really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
So another thing that you've done, so you also are a singer, songwriter. Your songs, I've listened to some, they're so good. I love your songs. You just get so deep into praise with your
Oh,
songs
thank you.
and worship. I just love that about your songs. And fostering, and you ended up adopting. That's another big part of your story.
It's a huge part of my story, and I think it's a huge part of my writing. And the two kind of went hand in hand in an odd way. Like I said, the first book um, was about a 13-year-old girl in foster care and a 60-year-old woman who has retired early and is kind of like searching for purpose, right? And then how their worlds collide. Um, and I felt like, that was the first story that I just had to get out. But I didn't realize it was because foster care was so much on my heart, and that I think God was kind of using that story to pull that out of me.
Mhm.
So started writing that in 2017. We started our foster parenting classes in January of 2018. And so we got our license in October of that year. You've been through it. I mean, you adopted, but so all of that is just can be a very, very long, tedious process, right? So went through the foster care classes, and it was 9 months from the time we were licensed to the time our son came to us, which I think is kind of cool, because it's like the time that you would,
Or-
yeah,
Yeah,
you would
yeah.
carry a child. So it it was a long process. It was a tedious process, and of course, I have three kids at the time who are experiencing it with us, and they're like waiting on the phone calls too, right? Uh, and getting excited when we get a phone call that we might have a placement, and then when they say, "Oh no, we found somebody else," and so it's this roller coaster, right? But it turned out that when our son came to us, he was 2.5 and he had already been in care for most of his life,
Mhm.
basically all his life. He had been a ward of the state. And so we knew right away that he was going to be eligible for adoption soon because they'd gone through that process uh, of him being in care for so long. So anyway, he was our really, other than like a short term, we had a 6-day placement. And we knew it was going to be very temporary before he came, but he was our only like long-term foster child. And 14 months after he came to us, he was legally adopted. And and then I felt like God said, "Okay, you're done now. It's like he was the one, right? Like that was what we were supposed to do." And so we didn't, continue our license or anything like that because our house was full, like literally at the time. We didn't have the bed space. So um, it was very obviously very fulfilling, but I'm sure it's also very, very challenging. And so those life experiences with the ups and downs and the challenges, I think even if your story is not directly about foster care or adoption, you're just using a lot of that emotion, in your writing when you go through something like that.
Yeah, so true, so true. And 2.5, there's a lot of life in 2.5 years.
Yeah. One of the things that always, whenever I considered, because I had thought about adopting for years and years and years. I mean, it wasn't like my writing career where it just happened all of a sudden. This had been on my heart for a very long time. I just didn't know when it would happen. I knew that I wanted my biological children to be old enough to kind of understand what was going on and be part of the process, because then I wanted to keep birth order. And so one of the things that had always concerned me is that I wouldn't be able to get over the fact of not knowing everything that had happened to them
Mhm.
before they came to me. Because it's heartbreaking. Obviously, it's all heartbreaking. Then none of this is like you. Adoption is a beautiful, beautiful thing, but it's not without tragedy first, right? Um, and so just this idea that I couldn't know for sure everything he'd been through, and that it would just like I would just think about it all the time. Um, and I have, tr just imagined, you imagine all the bad things. Um, but I think there's we just surrender that to God and move forward, right? And try to heal from that and not dwell on it so much. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting because you think 2.5, that's young enough that
mm,
trauma is going to be forgotten, whatever, and it's
yeah,
just not true. I mean,
nope,
it's part of what was woven into him for 2.5
right,
years. Everything that he went through, whatever that happened
yeah,
to you, for good, for bad, for whatever,
right,
and and sometimes things come out in
uh,
unexpected ways, and
yeah,
and you got to kind of go, why are you acting this way?
right,
Like, where is this coming from?
right,
Which can be hard in the moment when you're like,
yeah,
what's going on? You don't
yeah,
behave that way, but then to analyze it and go, okay, well, where is this coming from? Uh, and
yeah,
because you don't know, that's got to be difficult.
and and people who don't live in your house, yeah, have a very hard time understanding. So when you leave your house and you go out and things happen and there are these trauma behaviors that you've finally figured out most of the time. Now, sometimes I forget it too, right? Because I sometimes just forget the whys, or I just don't understand them even after all this time. But especially people, who who don't experience this on a day to day, they were going, it's easy for them to make judgments, right?
Mhm.
About when really, it's kind of like related back to some of these characters, we and their stories, like we don't know what somebody's been through until we've lived it. Or um, you can't always assume someone's motivation or the reason that they do certain things. So
Yeah.
most for the most part, people are very gracious. Like you say, people are inherently kind. But I think it is difficult for others to kind of understand some of the things that, like my family has experienced when we go out and there's a issue because of just like what we mostly know now is a trauma response, right?
Right. Right.
So, and we could talk about that like all day, right?
Yeah,
Like
no
if
kidding.
you're as adoptive moms, I'm sure you have some experience there.
Yeah, well, he was older, but I think, but I've witnessed a lot of it because I have traveled to Haiti a lot. I help people with
Mm-hmm.
adoptions even a bit in Haiti, and I have friends who have adopted from there, and they kids that go through a lot of trauma, and then you're absolutely right. Other people don't get it, don't understand it. They're not under your roof. They're not seeing the day to day. They're not living it. They're not experiencing it. They don't
Right.
understand it. And so my recommendation, people, is don't be judgmental because until you've walked in the shoes, until you've lived in the
Yeah.
house, you just don't know. And so give grace,
Right.
and be kind, give grace.
And I was probably guilty before I lived it, of making assumptions or whatever. And but just yeah, the worst thing I think that anybody on the outside looking in can say when a child is like maybe having maybe a meltdown, tantrum, whatever you want to call it, and say, "Oh, that kid needs to be disciplined more," or they must spoil that child or whatever. And it's like, "Oh, if you only knew," like what the real issue was here. And so, but I think, like I said, for the most part, people are gracious and kind, but um, that is something I think, it's a great message. Just like let people know, don't judge.
Yeah, 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 ever. Just don't
Yeah,
judge. It's not your
yeah,
job. It's not our job to judge anyway. So
right.
don't do it. Just love people through it.
Yeah, but he's great. My son is great. He is almost 9 now,
Wow.
and he has made, leaps and bounds, and so funny and just athletic, and um, he has, anytime, you have that background, there is often, I shouldn't say anytime, but often, some attachment issues because the developmental, differences. He's affectionate, he can, he's very loving. And, of course we have day-to-day challenges, but I can just see, I can see the growth. And I just know, like, one of the things, um, that I have been really reassured, I think, by God, I've been reassured of is that my son had a hard start, but that I think as when he is an adult, we won't, nobody will look at him and know that that was his story. Like they won't assume that about him because I think that trauma will be resolved in him. And I don't know why. That's just my hope. That's just what I feel like deep down, But yeah, it's hard right now. There are hard things, but when he is grown, you know, those things that we're struggling with now will not be evident in his life. So that's my
Yeah.
hope.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and also I love it that that's your hope, and I
Mm,
believe that that's absolutely going to be true of him for sure. And it is so rewarding to see the progress, right?
yes.
What a few years ago, what a couple years, what a year ago, and just
Yeah.
see that there's constant progress and growth,
Yeah.
and then the whole family grows.
I was just thinking that when you were saying that. Yeah. I mean, I'm just the lessons that it's taught my older kids, about empathy and patience. So so I really am glad for those, even though it's been hard. It's been really hard on my other three kids. But I think when they're adults, they're going to have a skill set, in life that they would not have had and
Yeah,
had they had not lived, this experience. So, and I will say that we, I could not have handled just the whole ordeal of going through foster care and adoption if my kids had not embraced him the way they did.
Mhm.
So I try to give them a lot of credit for that. Like I said, not always easy. And sometimes we mess up, and are not patient. But they from day one, it was this is my brother,
Oh,
and that has meant so much to me.
yeah. Yeah. That's so sweet.
Yeah,
That, I mean, he's just part of the family.
absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think that was just like, yeah, because we waited so long, and it was like this light bulb. It was because we were waiting on him, and that he was going to complete our family, and that's the way that God had chosen to do it. So
Yeah. 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 That's so cool. Did he come with his name, by the way?
actually, no, he like I said, he was 3 when he was adopted. He had a very unique name. But it just we started kind of trying out his name as a nickname, and we asked for his permission. It was just like you would call like hey buddy or whatever. We said, "Hey, I think I'm gonna call you this. Is that okay?" And because I didn't want to like add trauma on top of trauma by changing his identity, so we tried it out. He took to it like that. Like it
Yeah.
was always who he was.
Oh,
And so, I mean, he immediately started introducing himself to people with this new name. Um, and I will say, all my children have biblical names, and they have biblical Hebrew names. And so, I mean, I'll say I have an Elizabeth, Sarah, and a Daniel, right? And so when he came, and we're thinking about should we change his name? Is it going to be okay? Is it going to harm him in any way? Um, the name Benjamin means son of my right hand. And in my mind, that was like, that's literally how he became my son, was signing that paperwork that said I'm his mother. So he is literally the son of my right hand. So
makes me tear up. That's so
yeah.
cool. I love that.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. And then now I'm sure you cannot imagine your life without him.
Right.
And
Right.
the whole
It's just,
family, I'm sure, is that way.
yeah, it's how,
Yeah.
it's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Oh my gosh. Well, this was so fun. Our time, unfortunately, I could talk to you and talk to you and talk to you because there's
Oh,
plenty more to talk to you about because you are so multifaceted and
uh,
multi-talented and
thank you.
love your stuff. How can people find you? How can they reach out to you? Get your
I would love for people to visit heathernormansmith.com. And there is a contact form on there if anybody wanted to shoot me a message. I love talking to readers. I love talking to people about, like I said, my website does have, has information about my books. It has some blog posts. It's been a little while since I've written anything on there, but there's a blog that people can visit, and there are some original songs and some videos of um, some some music. So I would love for people to visit me at heathernormansmith.com.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Heather, what advice, if you were to give one thing that either somebody gave to you one day that you think was the greatest saying, or the biggest piece of advice you've ever read in the Bible, or the biggest piece of advice that you have, what would that be?
So I try to weave this through my writing too, but just in life in general, it's not something that I'm always great at remembering, but I know it's true. Okay. It's from the book of Romans, Romans 8:28. For we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to those who are the called according to his purpose. And so I just feel like that just sums up so nicely how we should live, in that believing that there is hope even when everything doesn't necessarily look good at the time, that it can and will work out for good. Something good can come of it. So, yeah, that's that one verse. Obviously, there's lots and lots and lots, but it's something I just keep coming back to over and over in my life.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that. And then, yeah, I mean, that's something that's like put it on a piece of paper and tape it to your wall
Right?
worthy kind of a thing, right?
Right.
To
Right.
remind yourself when you're down in the thick of things and you're trying to swim your way out that
Mm,
it's going to be okay because all things
right.
work together for good for those who serve the Lord. So
Yes,
so cool. I
absolutely.
love that. That's great. Great advice. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it. I appreciate your time. I appreciate everything that you do. I appreciate your heart. Appreciate your humor, your everything. So thank you so much.
It's been a joy to talk to you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you bet. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I know you love Heather now as much as I love Heather. So buy your book. You can get it at all the places you can get books, and you can send it. Amazon makes it so easy. All you have to do is push a button and you can send it. You don't have to go to the post office. You don't have to do anything. Send it to a friend. What a joyful thing, wonderful thing it is to get a book in the mail. And this is the book that you want to send in the mail. So don't just buy one, buy some for friends and bless some people today and bless yourself because you're going to love reading it. And thank you again for being here today. And I just pray that until we see each other again, that you keep your heart open and you live your love loud.